All right, so I've got to figure out what the link is for this. Yeah, completely new link, and I can't find it to share it right now. Hmm. Any of you who are YouTube masters, please let me know. Because all my URL says is youtube.com/webcam. And there's no way for me to copy my URL to anything in social media to let folks know what the new link is. Hmm. So, hey, just for you aspiring authors who want to do these events in the future, don't ever refresh your screen when you're having technical difficulties. God, I give you guys so much good content from my own screw ups. Absolutely amazing the things I can do. 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 Absolutely. We're gonna close that. Oh, thank you, Nicole. Nicole. All right. You all rock. Let me just I'm sorry, folks. Let me just send this real quick. Gosh. I'm reading. Yay. Professional. I swear I am. Uh all right. I can't think of anything creative at the moment. I'm just tweet that thing out and then have everybody get mad at me for sending them to the wrong link earlier. This is how you build an author brand right here, folks. You screw up everything possible. Yeah, there really are, Chris. Uh, I need to use YouTube more often. And the thing is I've had nothing but uh, internet problems. Yesterday, and I'm not kidding, I had internet speed of 2 megabytes a second. So the technicians are coming out today, but after this, right? So it's been full stations all the way. Hey, Cynthia's here. So Cynthia, welcome. Thanks for coming too. All right. I'm gonna just go with a tried and true. We're all here, so let's do this. I'm gonna just pop this in my Facebook page and try to get going. So, you all are very kind, absolutely very kind to come and join me. I'm not gonna waste your time. We need to do this thing for real. And honestly, since most of you are from the horrible writing writer support group community, uh, seriously take notes for yourself. This could be fun depending on, your audience and what they do. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It could be Discord or something like that. But it's good to test these things out, especially as authors. We need to be more visible. You're gonna see in an interview on the show with Simon Wood. He's a USA Today best-selling author, and I just did his interview last week. But even on there, we one of the things he said, one of the problems he sees with authors is that we're not visible enough. And I agree with him. We need to be doing things like this. It's a visual world. Uh, Social media makes it visual, even more visual. And we can't hide behind our keyboards and hope that readers come and find us. We need to get out there and help them see us. Hey, Patrick, welcome. And Nicole, it's funny you say that because that's something I'm going to start looking at. I have to start looking at that one. It's just between Discord and Twitch and Twitter and, you know, Instagram videos and Twitter live. It's just like, how much more can I try to learn? But we have to. And I hear that a lot about Twitch. Okay. So, hey, let's get on with this so I don't waste your days. Chris looks like he's got a wonderful day ahead of him. Chris, I'm not sure what you were drinking. I don't do liquor myself, and I'm not going to go Hemingway on you all. Um, I got water. Sorry. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. I've got to go play a serious game of intramural volleyball in a little bit, so I can't have any beer sitting in my gut when I go play. But I will toast to you all joining me tonight. So sorry for the technical difficulties. Thank you to everybody for playing along nicely. What I want to do with you all is I kind of want to celebrate the launch of this book with you, the people who get it, and the people. Most of you have been there from the beginning with me in this stuff. Rick is an audio drama person as well, and oddly enough, I hope I'm able to give him some ideas on how to not do this author thing wrong and how to do it right. Because Rick has been there answering questions of mine all the way back into my first audio drama, and it's cool to see him here and coming along uh, for not only this new evolution in my creative career, but side by side because he's doing something very similar. Hey, Chris, I was not going to judge you, buddy. Not judging at all. So I wanted to celebrate this with people who would get it and people who want to celebrate this with me. I'm not assuming all of you are horror fans. But I'm really excited about the book. I am very excited about this. I did, Chris. Don't tell anybody. Um, Chasing the Demon, my debut novel, was an adaptation from the Subject Found audio drama from that first season. I learned a lot in that adaptation, but this is my first published, truly unique fiction. I mean, I've written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories, but I haven't published any of that that wasn't someplace else. It wasn't already released in some other form or fashion. This is all standalone. There's no association to anything I've created um, before. Though there are things now that I'm coming off of. One of the neat things is there's a story in here where the character, and it's the one of the stories that stands out away from the others that are more horror centric. This one is more of a dystopic fantasy type thing. So it's kind of unique in that sense. But one of the characters I created in that, the protagonist I created, I kind of fell in love with her. I really did. And Cheyenne will know this because see, she already guessed. I did not, I swear, I did not look at her comment as I was talking about this. But that character I really fell in love with. So there's this thing on Twitter. Hashtag VSS365. Very short story 365. Hashtag daily stories. Cheyenne actually is the one who turned me on to it. And I've been playing around with that. So those of you who are authors or aspiring authors, I have found one of the benefits of that is that it helps me tighten my prose and it's content, free content that takes me 3 minutes to create, and it will be associated to something people are going to see in the future. So if you ever see me do a VSS 365 story with Thana, that's the character's name, that's all going to be part of something bigger down the road. So maybe a neat little idea for you to start doing instead of just coming up with disassociated stories for that fit their theme for the day. Think about your overall project that you've got coming. Could this be a prequel to that? Whatnot. I know this is not why we're here, but it was just on the tip of my mind, so I wanted to share that. Yeah, Cheyenne, it really is. It's a lot of fun. So if you're not doing VSS 365, I challenge you. But we're not here for that right now. We're here to talk about 12 Deaths of Christmas. So I want to do a quick reading, just a little excerpt from one of the stories called Roasting on an Open Fire. And then afterwards, I want to do a Q&A with you all, and I want to give some stuff away for free. So I'm going to switch my screens over, which is going to cover that chat pod real quick. And I apologize for that. But I hope you will join me and with your drink, your cigar, whatever you're doing. Nicole is out there playing video games, and she's probably got me in one of her earbuds while she's doing this. Hopefully, I don't distract her because I do want her to win um, against the 14-year-old that she's battling against. Yes, Nicole, exactly. Yeah, actually, patrons have gotten almost all of the stories in audio form so far. So, excerpt from Roasting on an Open Fire. You ready to do this? DeMarco asked, breaking Chiquet's tail-spinning thoughts. Do what? DeMarco hopped out of the car, releasing the last of the marijuana hit he held. A large, soft cloud filled the air, a sweet smell. DeMarco leaned down, one arm resting on the top of the door. To burn it down, man. He laughed, hacking up another small cloud of marijuana smoke and slammed the door. This was one of the worst ideas DeMarco ever had. But that didn't stop Shakay from getting out of the car to join him. If nothing else, he needed to protect DeMarco from himself. What are you doing? DeMarco rummaged around in the trunk. The parking lot was dark. The property manager probably wasn't interested in paying to light this abyss. Two of the light poles lay across the blacktop. Give me your light, DeMarco said from somewhere behind that trunk lid. Wait, never mind, I found it. Found what? Shakay asked, flicking on his flashlight app, shining it as he came around the back of the car. This, DeMarco held up a gas can. It was one thing to burn shit in trash cans in the middle of some field, but it was something entirely different to burn a building, abandoned or not. This was real shit. This was a felony. Come on, man, Shakay chided. You're not serious. DeMarco answered by slamming the trunk closed. Last one in is a pussy. With that, DeMarco sprinted for the building. Shakay stood by the back of the car watching his friend disappear into the black hole where the front door used to be years ago. Now that he was alone in the parking lot, staring at a building that was rotting into extinction, he realized how creepy it was out here. The exterior bore the scars of time. Here and there, without reason or rhyme or reason, slivers of the siding were torn off, making the building look marked. It served as a signal to the world how quickly something could lose its beauty once it was no longer cared for. The few windows that faced the parking lot had the glass busted out. Jagged slivers grimaced at their fate. One end of the roof sagged. Shakay couldn't believe he used to look forward to coming here. But this was worse. He was an adult, too old to be here doing this. This was asinine. This was criminal. He could either leave DeMarco, or he could talk him out of it. But everyone in their circles had left DeMarco. That was half the reason he was as fucked up as he was. Approaching 30 and still acting like a 13-year-old. Shakay wasn't going to join that queue. Shit, he slammed the car door, only checking for the keys afterward. Thankfully, he still had them. The sound of his footsteps skipped across the parking lot as he approached the club, reminding him how isolated they were from anyone who could help if things went bad. The black opening of the club swallowed DeMarco. Shakay paused, looking around at the parking lot one last time before carefully stepping through the rotted doorframe and into the place where dreams had become reality for a teenage boy. The club was nothing like a place of dreams now. The dance floor had been warped after years of exposure to the weather, thanks to a partially collapsed roof. The half wall the bouncers used to sit behind was still there, but everything else had been stripped away, sold off, or stolen. There were no bar stools, and even the glass mirror they used to use to covertly check out women was gone. The shelves that once held the promises delivered through bottles of alcohol now lay bare and broken, leaning at angles against one another. Shakay laughed when he saw the disco ball still hanging over from the ceiling over the dance floor. How much had he learned about himself and what women liked underneath that damn thing? Death had come to the club. It was a sad sight. DeMarco, come on, let's get out of here. He couldn't see his friend, but could hear him moving around in the darkness. What the hell are you doing? The sound stopped. Shakay swallowed, thinking for the first time that they might not be the only ones in here. He couldn't see anything beyond the 5 feet his phone light illuminated. Come on, man, this shit's not funny. Let's get out of here. Things moved, shuffled in the darkness. He thought he heard a sound to his right. It was light, skittering. Before he could spin, another sound teased him from the left. And then the world was ablaze. In one corner of the club, booths where the older kids used to flirt and talk about college, the spot where high schoolers weren't allowed to be, moaned as they were consumed by fire. Flames leapt up the walls, accelerated by DeMarco's can of gas. Then DeMarco was running by him. Come on, man. DeMarco raced across the dance floor and straight out of the club. It took a second before Shakay understood everything that was happening. All around the back of the club, the flames spread. Come on, Shakay, DeMarco yelled from the safety of the gaping doorway. Shakay didn't need to be told again. A trail of fire surged up out of nothingness across the floor. The gas can had leaked, and it led straight to his only escape route. Breaking into a sprint, Shakay jumped over the line of growing fire and into the night air. Once safe, He bent over, gasping. DeMarco laughed. Shakay shoved his shoulder. That shit's not funny, man. Yes, it is, especially if you could see your face. Shakay examined DeMarco and shook his head. He was never going to grow up. Where's the gas can? Gas can? I left that shit in there. Why? It cost $3, DeMarco shrugged. No big deal. Give me the keys. But it was a big deal. It was, if nothing else, evidence. As Shakay handed over the keys, he wondered how DeMarco couldn't understand that. When the authorities did an investigation into the fire, they might find clues of charred wood and melted plastics. And he had a life, a career, and he was going in the right direction and didn't want to be part of this. He tried to stop DeMarco. That was why he wanted to know where the goddamn gas can was. There was no time to contemplate the consequences. While they were safe in the parking lot, the interior of the club was growing to life as the fire spread. In minutes, the building would be completely ablaze. That would draw attention. We need to leave, Shakay said. But DeMarco leaned against the hood of the car, crossing his arms, his eyes fixed on the growing flames. Now, man, I want to watch this. Someone, anyone, might stumble by on a late night drive. Cops must still patrol this area periodically. They might come across them at any minute. He didn't need that mess. He wasn't some stupid teenager without a care in the world. And the flames were growing. Wood popped. Even this far away, Shakay felt its warm breath. With the deterioration of the structure, Shakay thought it would be too damp to catch. He was wrong. Flames danced larger and larger. Something crashed inside the building. The club was going to burn to the ground. Fuck this, DeMarco, Shakay said. Give me the keys. I'm leaving. You can join me or... A screaming soared above the dull rumble of the blooming fire. It came from inside the club. Shakay froze. What was that? DeMarco, too, had stopped and turned back toward the building at the unexpected sound. I'm sure it was nothing. Inside the club, flames popped up over the bottom of the windowsills, across the span of the building. Heat blew toward them, a warmth that chilled his soul. Just hearing things, DeMarco said, and began walking back toward the car, moving toward the driver's side. It's intense, right? He laughed, but it was unconvincing. Shakay had heard something. It wasn't an after effect of the fire. It wasn't background noise from one of the abandoned industrial buildings. If he heard something, then DeMarco did too. DeMarco had reacted to the scream. Shakay saw him. We can't leave, man. Why not? Shakay jabbed a finger back toward the building. The flames crackled. Someone screamed in there. I didn't hear anything. DeMarco yanked open the car door and collapsed into the driver's seat, starting the car. He leaned his head toward the passenger side window. Are you coming? Was he serious? They needed to help who was ever inside the club before it was too late. They couldn't just... DeMarco rolled forward, turning toward the parking lot exit. Shakay took one more look at the club before returning his gaze to the car. The passenger side window was still down. DeMarco leaned across the middle console again. His eyes begged Shakay to give up. We've got to go, man, DeMarco shouted, a slight quiver to his voice. Shakay understood. A million thoughts raced through his mind. In that instant, no one thought clearer than the other. Behind him, glass exploded. The entire building surged into old age as the fire spread, consuming more and more. Maybe it wasn't a scream after all. Chemicals made weird noises when they burned. Fire destroyed in the most chaotic of ways. It could have been anything, Shakay convinced himself. And in that moment of panic clarity, he ran to the car. Something collapsed inside the building behind his retreat. It's just a building. Just a stupid old building no one cares about. Shakay's hand was on the door, ready to pull it open, when he heard the scream again. It definitely came from inside the building, and it was definitely a voice, not chemicals, not a weird death call from some inanimate building material. This howl filled the world, reverberated inside his head. A human howl. A howl of excruciating pain. Get the fuck in, man, or I'm leaving you here. There was no mistaking DeMarco's intentions. Whatever was happening inside that building, DeMarco would leave it to carve out its own fate. Through the open doorway that was now ablaze with a roaring fire, something moved. It wasn't the musty drapes catching fire and breaking loose of the rods, drifting into his field of vision. It wasn't a partial wall collapsing, sending support beams scattering across the open maw. Something walked toward the door. "Get in, man." DeMarco's voice was muffled in Shakay's ears. A form, a human form, stumbled through the fire, out of the fire, toward the front door. Neither male nor female, the form was immense, and it was on fire. Jesus Christ. "Shakay, I'm going to leave you." Muffled no longer, DeMarco's voice cleaved the night. "We can't," Shakay screamed. "There's someone in there. They're hurt." The figure stumbled, its fiery arm swaying to catch its balance. It approached the door, close now. Flames licked at the person's clothes. A man, a large man. Between the fire raging in the background and the dark night, it was difficult to make out much detail about him beyond the tattered strips of clothing burning and floating up and away from the burning man. The man who was burning alive. "We've got to help," Shakay pleaded through the open car window. DeMarco put the car in gear. "Last chance, I'm not fucking around." His icy voice was an appropriate contradiction to the burning world. Face first, the burning man fell out of the doorway. Oh, fuck. Flames licked at his clothes, spreading across his back, down his legs, and across his thick arms. They danced on his head. Shakay, frozen, watched this slow, excruciating death. The man didn't move. Gruesome. The unmoving form on the ground faded from the living world, even as the flames danced to life into the night sky above him. Tires crunched across loose rock and trash that polluted the desolate parking lot. DeMarco pulled away. "Wait," Shakay screamed in a moment of madness, grabbing for the car door. DeMarco obeyed, and Shakay jumped in. Without another word, without another word, DeMarco pulled away. They rode in silence. There was nothing to talk about. There was nothing to say about the man they'd left back in the parking lot, because the burning man was already dead. All right. So there you go. Hopefully, that was a little bit of a teaser that was somewhat interesting. I probably should have warned you all that, hey, there was going to be adult language and themes and stuff. Again, uh, you learn from the way I do things, please, folks. Hey, David's here. Welcome, David. I'm gonna catch up on the chat. So, um, a little bit. I'm gonna look at the chat pod here in a second. A little bit about 12 Deaths of Christmas. Hey, pick it up for yourself if you like horror. Pick it up for people in your life who like horror. Please understand, um, what you heard me just read, theme and language wise, is timid compared to some of the other stories in there. And I wouldn't want anybody to walk into something they weren't expecting. I don't put um, trigger warnings and things like that in my content, but I do put warnings that, hey, it's fiction. And as I establish my brand, uh, even hopefully more firmly, you can always expect adult themes, language, and stuff like that, at least from my horror. I don't like horror that's timid. That's just my thing. So, um, but I definitely enjoyed all of the stories in there. So what I want to do in a second before I look at the chat is, hey, if you've got questions, let's open this up to the ask me anything. We've got a little bit. If you have any questions at all, I know a lot of you are writers. Chris is published. Nicole's getting closer to being published. Rick has got published stuff. So um, I don't anticipate a lot of how-tos. Tim is here. Tim's got a gazillion things published. That dude is just ridiculous. I've called him a machine a number of times, and that's not a lie. David can't see the chat. Oh, Cheyenne was hooking me up. Thank you, Cheyenne. Yeah, Patrick, hopefully I wasn't too bad with the body language and the facial expressions. Trying to read it off the screen and not gesticulate because I didn't want to hit the mic or anything like that. It was hard. That's why I kept crossing my arms. That is Cynthia is so cool, especially for a Leicester City fan. Um, Cheyenne, hopefully a couple books down the road, I'll be able to actually be relaxed when I do this stuff. And then I'll be more of a performer for you. Yeah, Chris, I think that's so cool. Yeah, see, and you can see Nicole's heard a lot of the stories. Cheyenne was an advanced copy reader for me, so she knows the entire collection. And there's some uh, I'm not gonna say, and Cheyenne, don't say anything if you know yet, because I've got a giveaway I'm gonna base on a question on. But there is a specific person who inspired or has inspired me forever when it comes to horror. And I really channeled that person because I needed to step out of my comfort zone. You heard Subject Found, first season Bigfoot. It was a lot of fun to do that. But the second season, with it being a serial killer story and what that main character went through, you could see I was trying to introduce people to my more natural writing preference. I like edgy. I do not like tame storytelling. It's just my preference. Those of you who are personal friends of mine on Facebook know that I went on a recent binge of Sons of Anarchy. Never watched it. It's been in my Netflix queue forever. And I sat down one night. I do this little game. I use a PlayStation to watch Netflix. So I've got the PlayStation controller, R1, L1 buttons, right? So I'll hold down R1 and I won't even look. I'll hold it down. And then whatever it stops on is what I watch. And one night, and I had done that, and Sons of Anarchy had been stopped on a number of times. And I was like, I'm not watching this. I'll watch it one day. Well, a couple months ago, I landed on it and I said, screw it, let's watch it. Immediate addiction. And when I was done with that entire series, I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody. And I truly believe this. Paul's opinion, we can agree to disagree. But it was by far for me the best drama on television I've ever seen. By far, nothing even comes close. And then I really struggle to think of any genre of fiction and of series. So I don't care. Television, HBO, whatever we want to include in that. The best by far. The writing was just very true to the characters all the way through, and they really pushed the envelope. And I appreciate that because I don't see a lot of people doing that anymore. I see everybody taming down their stories because of political correctness, or they don't want to listen to the hate crowd out there. So I celebrate brave writing, even if it's not necessarily a genre that I'll read. If it's brave, hey, you got a fan in me, definitely. So when I did this, I specifically set out to challenge myself and not let myself tame it down because I didn't want to upset people. And it's not like I go out to upset people with these stories, but there are stories in here that address very real stuff that happens to people in real life. And I don't think it's fair to their experience to sugarcoat it and tame it down. So I say that because I love you all and I love you for being here. But if you're not okay with stories like that, please know that going into it. You're not going to hurt my feelings if this isn't necessarily your a thing, a type of book that you would want to read. But if you do like edgier stuff, it might definitely be something for you or people in your life. Chris, I'm just getting through the chats now, so I'm trying to delay to give you all time to ask any questions that you might have. But for some reason, YouTube hid your comment about my swearing. I don't know why. I'm gonna leave it hidden, but unless you tell me go ahead, it's okay. But I appreciate that. Now remember, Chris is talking about the swearing, right? He didn't know I was such a swearing beast. But for those of you who are gentlemen, think about what you and your buddies are like, your lifelong buddies, and how you talk to each other, right? Uh, we, a lot of us, quite often, will say some interesting, colorful things to each other. Though women do it too. My wife is actually here, and we went out to dinner and a movie last night with some friends, and we had that conversation that women can call each other names that would make us men blush. And then one of us claimed that guys don't do that, but we kind of do, don't we? All right, let me see. Oh, Nicole, I've never gotten into anime, so if you have an anime that I mean, you know my style of storytelling, so if you know an anime that would be interesting for me, let me know. Tokyo Ghouls. I'm gonna jot that down. Tokyo Ghouls. Nicole, practice, practice, practice. And remember, folks, just to kind of give you an idea, just I'm listening to my wife in the other room. She's supposed to be here with us because she's in the room, but I can hear her swearing because one of the dogs just threw up. These are the things that happen live. But Nicole, I mean, you've seen me enough and you know my style, and I teach for a living. This this is my daily life. This is literally what I do for a living, except I don't hang this up, obviously. Kind of get myself in trouble if I did that. But even so, I was still a little nervous about this. But Nicole, I think it's a great way to connect with people. Um, I really do, and I hope as I grow, hopefully I grow as a writer and a fan base, that I do these more often and connect. I just like connecting with people who connect with my stories. I think a lot of you are writers, so you get that, right? When you find that even one person who appreciates your creation, that connection is powerful. Yeah, Patrick, absolutely love him. I had no idea that he was actually one of the characters in the show. And I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to ruin anything, but that was pretty cool. Oh, you had a friend voice Ghouls, Tokyo Ghouls. Boys' night. I don't think any of us would be opposed to my swearing. And I'm sure they do, Chris. Cynthia and Maddie swear more. I know Maddie does. She just said a very nasty word out there. Well, okay, Nicole, then your challenge, I'm going to challenge you. You've got to find one you think I would get into that I could actually access. So I don't know. And here's my ignorance. I don't even know where to find them. So if this is a Netflix thing, cool. If I have to sit in front of my computer, it's going to kill me. So, but hey, if it's the only place I can get them, let me know. David, I really appreciate and matter of fact, I guess I should do that, right? I mean, this is a live reading for this book, so I should actually mention that. Thank you, David. Thank you for helping me learn how to do this author thing. So the paperback is now available on Amazon, so you could pre-order the digital copy, but if you go to Amazon today, right now, I think that's how you're supposed to sell things. If you go to Amazon, the paperback's live, so it takes, I mean, it's Amazon, depending on if you've got the Amazon Prime or not, you could get it pretty quickly. Fate Zero. All right, thanks, Tim. Let me write that down. VHS tapes. I still have a VHS player. Do you? Yeah, Cynthia, I really love it. Cynthia, this is not a hard sell, but occasionally when I do episodes of horrible writing that are standalone, it's just me. I will do it live like this, and we'll just hang out, ask questions, and whatnot. And I really enjoy it. Usually, I'll have Tim, Cheyenne, Erica here, and maybe one or two others, and it's just a great time. Castlevania is one. You guys love Castlevania. Okay, so let me Castlevania. All right. If there's anybody with a question, I see 12 people here. So, hey, if you're not one of these wonderful people from the Horrible Writing Writers Facebook community that we're slowly building, welcome. If you have a question, I've got a couple more minutes before I'm going to do my giveaway. I'm going to give away some copies. So, anything about 12 Deaths of Christmas, about novel idea to podcast, how to sell more books through podcasting, about chasing the demon, about any of the audio dramas. I don't care. Ask a question and I will answer it. Maybe we could do a thing in Horrible Writing Support Group on reading your stuff out loud. Cheyenne, please remember that. I agree. Oh, Rick, please. We know. We know you know what VHS is, Rick. Oh, hey, Chris, thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. So Chris is talking about warming up to editing. Okay, so those of you who haven't heard me whine about it, I hate editing. I love creating. Those of you who know what I put out there, a lot of people will go, "Man, you just produce. You're so ah, oh, what's the word? I love when a room of writers gets together and I can't think of a word. Um, proficient in your creation. For the longest time, I get that stimulation, that adrenaline rush from creating. Going back and editing, there was no adrenaline. But what Chris is talking about there is I've talked about it on the show and I talk about it in our horrible writing group on Facebook. Been a weird thing that happened when I was editing this book and then has been happening more with The Scales. The Scales is a horror book I'm gonna release in 2019, um, where I've learned to get I'm feeling that adrenaline from editing. My wife got me this, folks. If you hate editing, I don't know where she got it. I can ask her. She's here. She could probably tell us. Let me okay, it's backwards. It's a little ceramic block. Write without fear, edit without mercy. And I'm not kidding. Having that tangible physical thing uh has I've just embraced that edit without mercy. So now I'm cutting crap that is just not in the point of view. It doesn't work. It's not beefy enough. And I'm finding it sexy to work on a sentence and find the beauty in that one word that's right. You know what I mean? Prolific. Thank you, Rick. Um, so it's been a mindset switch for me. It's not about going out and creating more content. It's about the content I do release, doing it the right way, the way that gets me excited. So it's very much still in its infancy, but I am loving it. Chris, thank you for asking that. I am loving it. I'm getting excited to edit. I get up in the morning and I'm excited to edit. Oh my god. Okay, so there was Chris's. Um, let's see. I wanna make sure I don't miss anything. And one of these days, I wanna see Chris get on YouTube for his fans and start playing some of that stuff for us because I think that would be cool. I see you guys post your Facebook pictures all the time, but I don't hear anything. Audiobook experience, Rick, great. Okay, wait, David was before you. Will there be more Who Killed Julie? Episode 6 comes out tomorrow. That's the penultimate episode. So in 2 weeks, episode 7 comes out. That is it. That is the series finale. The 7th episode is almost an hour and a half long. It's mammoth. I love Julie's story. I absolutely love it. What I did to get those of you who are fans of Sue Grafton, you know her alphabet series. A is for alibi, B is for whatever. And she went all the way up to Y. Unfortunately, before she passed, she never got to write Z, the final book in this series. But literally, she went through the entire alphabet, standalone novels, but the character was the same. It's a private investigator. Her name's Kinsey Milhone. Um, and I love Kinsey. Absolutely love that character. So in Who Killed Julie, Emerald Johnson is my Kinsey. I want to, and I have a very cool concept of what I want to do with her. But here's the thing. I'll be straight up with you all. It kind of goes back to what Chris asked about editing. I love working on this, and I realized I can't keep putting out as much as I did if I wanna do these books better, tighter, more professionally, and I can't keep putting out 4 or 5 podcasts a year, so I'm not gonna do it. 2019, Imma have 1, and 2020, I don't know. My frustration with the audio drama community is Who Killed Julie gets stupid downloads, tens of thousands of downloads when the episodes literally, I've got this many new patrons from that show. People love the content. Subject Found. Subject Found gets 700 downloads a day on an average day. Every day. I haven't released anything new since the spring. And I've had 2 new patrons since the end of that 2nd season. People love it. they don't want to help support it. I did a fundraiser campaign for Subject Found season 3 because I really want to do that story. 4 people contributed. One was a dear friend who supports everything I do, and Sarah Ray Werner from Girl in Space. I was venting to her one day about my frustration about how do I do this successfully. And within a half hour, she went and donated because she's a beautiful human being. She felt bad for me. So everybody wants to download and enjoy it, but people aren't willing necessarily to financially support it. And I can't spend time doing fundraising campaigns. So for those of you who are here, neat little exclusive. I'm working on patron exclusive audio dramas now. If I could show you my dining room, and some of you have seen it on Instagram, I'm outlining a fantasy series. So I'm gonna move into epic fantasy, medieval world, and I'm gonna start creating an audio drama around that. So you all are the first to hear it. Exclusive content. Um, so it'll be a fantasy series. It'll be an audio drama. It will be voice acted, and it will be released as I can release it. So, and I'm gonna adjust all my patron stuff. I've been too busy to do it, but all of those levels, I'm gonna start rearranging everything so more people can participate. But the people who do support me are gonna get my stories nonstop. I'm still producing for you all, but it's really gonna go to books and those patron exclusives. I just can't do it anymore. I can't put that level of content out. I could have done 5 books this year easily if I wasn't doing audio dramas. So I have to do that decision. Rick asked about the audiobook experience. I love it, Rick. I love voice actors. I want to help them who have helped me, but I need money to do it. It's very expensive to produce an audiobook if you're paying for somebody. If you can't pay them upfront, you can do a revenue share. But here's the thing. What if I write a what if I get lucky and I actually write a book that has hundreds of thousands of buys over the years, and I'm doing a 50-50 revenue share with a voice actor? That's a huge chunk of change. So it needs to be an upfront cost for me from a business perspective. So in order to do that, I need the money to be able to hire them. So I'm recording it myself. 12 Deaths of Christmas is already recorded. I just need to edit the audio to get it up. Novel Idea to Podcast was my first audiobook. I'm still waiting for ACX to approve it. They do tell you it can take up to 3 weeks to get it approved. So, um, I enjoyed it. If you work on your craft, just like with anything, I think there's there's something that we bring as creators that a voice actor, no matter how good, can't bring. They didn't create the character. That character didn't live in their head, and they can do wonderful jobs. They're I mean, we all know this. They're amazingly talented. But I feel if an author can actually do it because you're bringing the truest form of that character to life. So I love audiobooks, and those of you who do write, yes, this did cost me a lot to get this stuff, but this was 8 years of podcasting, saving up, buying a piece of equipment at a time type of stuff. Um, it's definitely worth it. Overwrite in earlier drafts, Tim says, what stuff do you tend to cut out lately? Point of view problems and author intrusion. Boom. That was a great question. Uh, When I have point of view shifts, cut those things out. Obviously, you need to do that anyways. But my biggest thing is point of view or author intrusion. For example, in the scales, the main character is a teenage African American female. And there are things that she says in there, some stuff I caught this morning in my chapter that Paul says, the way Paul world views the world. Can't she wouldn't see the world like that. So yeah, Tim, great question. Those are the easy kills that I've the overwriting that I've done now. No more Paul's pontifications. Oh, she got the block from TJ Maxx. So if you all do TJ Maxx shopping, it helps. It's a tangible thing that helps. It keeps me from finishing my stuff. Hope I actually get past the nerves about it soon. Cheyenne, yeah, baby steps. Every small step forward is still progress. I think you'll get there. I know, and we'll keep chatting. I know you will. Old school artist mistakes haunt me forever. Honestly, Cynthia, the more I've done it, the easier it's gotten for me. It really has been, I've gotten more cruel in my editing. I don't have that emotional I do, Serenity, the main character in the scales that I was just talking about, one of the things I just cut out was very awesome. It was an awesome line, but when I read it this morning, I was like, "Oh, Paul, she would not say that," and it hurt to highlight that area and hit that delete key. Write drunk, edit sober. Someone famous said that. Whoever said that, I love that. Probably Lovecraft, right? Adding the things you missed and enhancing it. Right on, Nicole. Or maybe Hemingway. One of those, right? Hemingway, probably. Rick, that is such a generalization. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, Nicole's actually one of those beautiful people who supports me in so many ways. But she purchased the entire series of Who Killed Julie, so she already knows how it ends. I'm very happy with that story all the way around. I've loved that story since the minute I was sitting at a campsite, just filling in a long, relaxing day before I could start drinking, and she was just there. She was present. I felt her sitting right next to me as soon as I started writing it, and I'll tell you what, no joke, that final episode, I wrote it in one day. It's I don't remember exactly, 14,000 words. She just flowed out of me. It was amazing. Yeah, David, you're another one who is an amazing supporter. You really are. I appreciate you all so, so much. Yeah, I guess to go back to what you asked earlier about Who Killed Julie, David, I don't know if I fairly wrapped that up for you. So Emerald Johnson is not going away. She'll come back. Will it be audio drama? That'll be up to after I restructure Patreon, we'll see what happens. Um, but she'll be back. I'll tease you with that much. This is not the last you've heard of from Emerald Johnson. And a lot have horrible sound editing. What specifically do you do to make sure the sound editing is correct? I give it to talented people, Patrick. I'm editing a holiday special for Subject Found. Uh, so it's going to be a one-off story. It's going to come out in a couple of weeks. Uh, and last night, I told my wife, I said, this is why I go to talented people to sound edit. I sat there and played with the ruffling of a blanket sound for far too long than I should have had to. So John McClane, Dog and Pony Studios, Vegas, Nevada. He did Who Killed Julie. He did the second season of Subject Found. I mean, he does this for a living and he loves audio drama. And he's a wonderful human being. And he did the editing. So basically I gave it to him. I've got little notes in all of my scripts. And John is somebody I trust. So that's another thing. Trust the people in your life who know what they're doing. And he will say, "Hey, you put this in here as a environmental sound. I'm not going to do it. It doesn't feel right to me." Good. I trust you. I hear one thing, you hear it differently, and trusting those people to do he creates things. Um, Episode 2 of Subject Found, there's a transition where Janice is talking in one of her monologues, and then we hear her on her way to something else, but she's in a car, and he does this whoosh sound into car tires driving over wet pavement, and it's seamless, and that's something I didn't put in there. He heard it. So, but Patrick, yeah, and Eh, that's one thing that I do, and then taking the time, making sure that you're checking those levels throughout the whole thing between actors and sounds. I can't stand when you've gotta listen, and then all of a sudden a new actor comes into the scene and it blows your eardrums out. That tells me that you as a creator don't care enough about your product to take that time. I do that. I'm much harder on audio dramas about their writing than I am their sounds because there's a lot of lazy writing. People don't go back through their scripts 30, 40 times like they should be doing. They go back 2 or 3 times, they get together and they record it, or one time. And there's a lot of disingenuous dialogues, arcs that don't make sense or no arc at all. It's just a flat character. But with sounds is yeah, you gotta be watching those levels. You gotta be thinking about what the environment is. The characters in this story go I was telling you about the blankets, it's because it's kids. They go into a blanket fort, and that means everything else in that background has to change because 'cause we're in their point of view. So there's a Christmas party happening. So that means I spent 2 hours yesterday altering the party noise that you hear to get flatter and fatter once the kids go inside their blanket fort, because that would be true. You would go underneath blankets and the exterior sound would change, and I don't know if people stop when they're editing and think about things like that, and so, Patrick, that's a great question because I could talk about that for days. Yep, Cheyenne, I told you you might be excited. I cannot wait to go back into it, and, hey, since you all are still here after 51 minutes, Thana is the main character, Cheyenne. So you will meet her in 12 Deaths of Christmas, but this is I've plucked I love Thana so much. I plucked her out of that world. I've put her in a new world, and now I'm gonna run with her. Hey, Erica, welcome back. How do you feel about advertising in audio drama? It's a necessity. Erica, when you stepped out, I whined a little bit about how I might not be able to do a subject file in season 3 or the follow on to Who Killed Julie because the downloads are there, but the support to pay John, to pay those actors, and it's not about me making money. It's about me taking it and going, here, John, here, Ashley, and doing right by them. But the support's not there. So do it, but do it right. Weave it into the story. That's a neat way to do it, you know? Product placement. Who in audio drama is doing product placement? In a movie, you'll see a Pepsi can sitting there. Pepsi paid for that. Why do you think all your movies you see a Mac computer? Apple's paying Hollywood studios to make sure that that character is using a Mac and not a Dell or whatever. But who's doing that in audio drama? I'm not gonna do it because I don't have the time, and my interest isn't there. I wanna write books. So I have to decide, do I do all that work that goes with finding people to advertise an audio drama, or can I spend that hour editing one more chapter? And for me, that's a no-brainer, but for other people, they don't wanna do novels, whether they just wanna create audio drama. Go do it. Somebody has to help or we die. I'm not gonna get on my soapbox because I gotta do my giveaway. I warned the audio drama community 2.5 years ago that we were gonna see the little people get pushed out of the picture because Hollywood studios were gonna come in. They were gonna see what was happening, and they were gonna come in. Go over to iTunes now. I wish I could find that post in the Audio Drama Production Podcast Group Facebook page. It was, like, from 2016, maybe early 2017, and I warned people then, "Go to your Apple Podcast, go to arts, performing arts, go check the top 200 and tell me who makes up the top 30 shows." I called it, just saying. So if we have to advertise to be able to do this, I don't blame them. What I don't like, I'm not gonna say who it was, because I don't like the show. It's a newer show, and I stopped listening because the writing was just bad. But they did an advertisement in their first episode. They got us into the episode, and in the 6th or 7th minute, checked out of the story and went to an advertisement for, like, 2 minutes, and I was like, "Oh god." So I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of that. Put me in the middle. Give me a mid-roll, I'm okay. In the beginning, I'm okay. At the end, I'm okay. In the story, I'm okay. Just don't do it like that, and don't go on for 2 minutes. Um, the new Oprah. God, can you imagine? Bees. No giveaway yet. My wife says if she gets a giveaway, that goes to someone else since we're doubled up. And that's a Cynthia, thank you very much. Yeah, Patrick, okay, now I've got allergy problems since moving to the Pacific Northwest. My left ear is like swimmer's ear 24/7. So I try to be empathetic, um, with that because I can't hear things very clearly myself. I rely on other people to kinda, like, sanity check me. But even with my bad hearing, I'm visually watching. I don't know what software you might use, but I use Adobe Audition. I can see that bar go from -9, decibels to 0 and distort, right? So, if you've got a hearing issue, I understand that. Use something else to compensate for that. Be responsible to owe it to your audience. They invest in your story. Owe it to them to give them the best you can. I have Rick contributing to a one-shot audio drama this month. I'm sure I cannot wait to hear that one, by the way. And I can't wait to hear it because I've got an idea that I started scripting out last year, Chris. And what I've heard about your one-off might be very close to what I was going to do. So I'm going to be really interested. I could hear better in New England. You're actually right, Rick. Those of you who don't know, I'm from New York originally. So when I lived in the Northeast, I didn't have this issue. So I do not argue with that. Is that what it is, Chris? All right. So, hey, it's the top of the hour. I got to give stuff away. So here we go. If you're here, you've got to answer and you could win this. And if you want me to give it to somebody else, or if you want to give it to someone else yourself, that's totally fine. But here we go. Chris, you've seen what I can give you. I don't give you lake effect snow from November until April. Okay. Just saying. Rick would make you plow a driveway 3 times a week for 6 months out of the year. Just saying. Rick, I know that was a low blow. Okay. So here you go. If you are here and you want to win an autographed signed copy of 12 Deaths of Christmas, I've got 2 I'm going to give away, and then I'm going to do the author copy for anybody who's sent me the proof of purchase. So here we go. You have to answer in the chat. So, David, if you're driving, I need you to slam on your brakes, stop wherever you are, even if it's in the highway. To my lawyer, that was just a joke. I don't mean that. So you can respond and have a fair chance like everybody else. Here we go. The first person to name all 4 of my public/free audio dramas will get 1 copy autographed of 12 Deaths of Christmas. In the chat, you have to be able to answer what all 4 of my audio dramas, they're by name, what they are. Now you can abbreviate them, and that's okay. So the first person to answer that gets a copy. Then the second copy is going to go to the person who can tell me the name of the author, the horror author. So I'll help you out. The name of the horror author who influenced 12 Deaths of Christmas. That will go to the second one. All right. And Rick has got 3 of the 4. Patrick says, found June Madman and writing horror. No, I said audio dramas, Patrick. Boom. Cheyenne gets it. And Rick gets it. All right. Congratulations, Rick and Cheyenne. One of them is now defunct. Atheist Apocalypse is a satirical comedy. Is the one that Rick, don't hate me. Rick didn't help. He's not associated with the podcast, so don't go hating on Rick. But when I was doing that and trying to learn about script writing and producing audio, I went to Rick for a lot of questions, and he was awesome. I hinted at that earlier. But again, don't send him hate mail or not go listen to his own awesome audio drama because he wasn't associated with that wreckage of a of a audio drama. And yes, Clive Barker is Rick. So I need to write that down. Cheyenne and Rick, autograph copy. So Cheyenne and Rick, you have to trust me enough to send me a mailing address. I can get those two. Okay, now the last one before we get out of here. This is the author copy. Now, this one, if I ever become something in life, in the writing life, if I do become the next Stephen King or Robert Jordan or any epic fantasy author that you like, this may be worth something. Right now, it's probably not worth as much as it's going to cost me to mail it to you. But this is my author copy. So this is what you get as an author. It's your author proof. So when you publish, I use Kindle Direct Publishing, which used to be called Create Space. Before I publish the paperback, I can put it in paperback form and tell Amazon, send me a paperback version of it. I need to go through it and make sure that everything's okay. So in here, you can see not only edits, but what I did to have a little bit of fun. So, hey, go steal this in your own author journey. Give stuff like this to your own fans. What I did was I put little notes in here about each of the stories. Like there's one thing about walking in a winter harvest land about a town called Hannibal. I'm not going to tell you what it is. The person who is going to get this copy is going to be the person who knows. But I just put little trinkets in there, neat little things about the story, a scene, a place in the story. So here we go. I'm going to give it to one person who sent me the proof of purchase. You don't need to be here to win. Here we go. So watch now, everybody drops out. And the winner is from my lucky hat, as you can see. I've got two that are clung together. Okay, here we go. Oh, geez. This person is not here. I would know if they are, because they would have spoken up by now. But I think this is appropriate because this was my first Patreon supporter of my horror. And total crapshoot. You saw how it was done. So Adam Burke, you are the winner of the uh, author proof copy. So Cheyenne and Rick get off autographed copies. I need to know where to send them to you. And then Adam, when you view this, you are the winner. Let me see what else we got in here. I am going to show that comment from Chris because YouTube identified it as hate speech or something, but I want to make sure I unhide that so you all can see how much Chris hates Rick. He put it in capital letters. That's how, with a lot of exclamation points. Those of you who don't know, Rick and Chris are very close. So, Nicole, when you go through your stories, where was your brain in that moment, in that scene? Like, I'm dreaming of a whiteout. The character drives up a highway in Washington with the snow and the sound to the bay of water, the sound to his right. That was inspired by drives that I like to take up the 101 in Washington State when I need to just get away. I drive up the 101 and it's very creepy. It's, cliffside trees, think Pacific Northwest. So I put in little things like that. So you might have stuff like that. I'm sure you do. Maddie rules. What did Maddie say? Shoot, did I miss something? Somebody said that Maddie rules. Chris said Maddie rules. I'm not sure why, but yeah, she does. Is that a Liverpool hat? No, this is my Adidas hat because I can't find a Liverpool. I'm very particular on how hats have to fit. So, for example, they have to look great backwards. Boom, bingo, does. But when they sit on my head, they have to have form fitting. I can't have hats that do like that. So, I haven't found a Liverpool hat that fits my head like that. I'm just saying Christmas is coming up, folks. Tim, thank you. Thanks for coming by and supporting, Tim. I really appreciate it. Yeah, Chris, I agree. I dig this horrible writing community. Um, Not that it's mine because I don't consider it mine. I consider it a collective, all of us together, because we all are creating what happens in that page. So and supporting each other. I love it. I geek out. I love checking to see what's going on. I love the support. I love that we've only had a very few incidents of self-promoting, and we put a kibosh on that, and people just wanna help each other. It's beautiful. My head is gorgeous. Look at that. That is a good-looking bald head, Chris. Just because you got yours covered in enviable yet Sasquatchy-esque gorgeous long locks doesn't mean that it's more beautiful than mine. Thank you, Cynthia. Yes, it has been. So, folks, thank you seriously, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart. This I told Cheyenne earlier, I was nervous about doing this. I expected one or two people to be here because it's, one being my wonderful wife. Um, but this was very pleasant to do. I really, truly appreciate you helping me get this first one under my belt. They're all gonna be cake from now on, and I will be there for years when you all do yours. Yeah, me too, Cheyenne. So, thank you, David. You all have a great day. Chris, enjoy that drink and some, that's not a fiddle, what is that? Playing that thing. Patrick, thank you for stopping by. It definitely was, Patrick. It definitely was. You better get there first, Chris, because I know Rick, because I know I got Chris and Cynthia baited. Mandolin, thank you. Thank you. You know why? Chris, I was, brain blocking. I was thinking Mandarin, and I was like, "No, that's a language, that's not an instrument. What's that thing called?" So go play your Mandarin, Chris. All right, folks. Hey, thank you again. You all were absolutely wonderful. I love your support. It means the world to me. And Cynthia, we just take your your statement as a blanket policy with Chris going forward for the future. So you don't have to apologize in the future anymore. We just go, it's Chris. And we know and we support you, Cynthia. All right, everybody. Thank you again. You all were absolutely the best. Keep being epic.